Look, this is a shocking decision for the tourism industry, but it's a decision I do support because we've got to be safe rather than sorry. We do have this situation where with having no coronavirus, we don't want to move into a situation where we even just have a little bit of it and restrictions come back and what have you. It's really, really tough, though, for those in the tourism industry. It's a huge disappointment that this outbreak has occurred when we've been so close to eliminating the disease. But elimination was always an unrealistic goal. We're always going to expect these kinds of outbreaks. We just have to respond in the ways we've done before. And I think it has been proven over the past year that one of the more effective policy measures to stop the spread, so to speak, has been to restrict travel. Now, that has really terrible impacts on industries like tourism, but it would be worse if the virus got out across the whole country, and not only would tourism be impacted then, but restaurants and lots of other industries as well.
We've seen a number of leaders across the country criticising the approach that New South Wales is taking to tackle this outbreak. Is it appropriate for other states and territories to comment?
Well, it's a free country. You can say what you like, but I think it's unfair. I've got great sympathy for New South Wales. They've taken the vast bulk of international arrivals. In fact, I think over half of international arrivals have come in through Sydney. Now, they've had to do that with the Victorian outbreak we've seen, but they've done it willingly, and I applaud New South Wales for their stance. There's always a risk with those processes, and that's probably where this outbreak has come from. I saw someone today commenting that we should just shut the international border. That's just completely unrealistic. We've got to allow Australians to come home, and that's going to require a degree of managing risk. I think New South Wales have done that admirably over the past year. Gladys Berejiklian has sensibly responded to every outbreak that's occurred. And this is not the first outbreak that's occurred in New South Wales. They've been able to manage it, and I'm confident they'll manage this one with the right measures, the right policies and common sense by average Australians that we've shown over the past year.
Oh, fingers crossed on that for sure. Now, let's move on to the situation with China. Australia will now pursue new trade agreements with several other nations as trade tensions escalate. How long do you think it will take to diversify our market?
Look, it's you can't put a complete time frame on it, but it'll be quicker than I think some people fear. Trade flows can change rapidly, as we have seen in our lifetime. 20 years ago, we basically traded nothing with China. Our trade to China in the year 2000 was $10 billion a year, less than 10% of our total trade. Today, it's huge. It's up around 40% and $160 billion. But that's all happened in a generation very, very quickly. And because we have very high quality products, there are a lot of people who want to buy and have access to our resources and products. Now, we've already seen that in markets directly affected by China's illegal trade sanctions in the last year. We've seen the beef sector reallocate product to other markets. They haven't missed a beat. Beef prices are at record highs. We've seen the coal industry very quickly and rapidly change flows to countries like India and Vietnam. We exported double to India in November than we did the 12 months prior. And that will probably continue as long as China continues to stop taking our high quality resources. So we're in a very strong position, And what we need to focus on is maintaining our high quality, our high regard and brand across the world. And there are a lot of people out there, a lot of people who need to be fed, a lot of people who want to switch lights on, and that will have them coming to Australia in droves to buy our products.
This week we saw the Nationals MP Barnaby Joyce. He criticised Prime Minister Scott Morrison's decision to hand the trade portfolio to Dan Tehan during that cabinet reshuffle. He said that much of what our nation trades from comes from national seats. Do you think that Dan Tehan should have gotten the portfolio?
I think Dan Tehan will do an excellent job. Dan's an impressive individual. He himself comes from a rural area. But I share Barnaby's disappointment that that portfolio is not in the Nationals' fold. It has traditionally and historically been a Nationals portfolio, although not one in the last few years. And as your previous question highlighted, the big risks we face to our trade, be they resources or agricultural products to China, will require real focus from those that know inherently the importance of those industries. And so Dan knows that importance, and I'm sure he'll do a good job. But it is a portfolio that would have naturally gone to the Nationals, so it's disappointing that it couldn't come back. In saying that, we've got to take other opportunities as part of the Nationals Party. We're driving a big focus on manufacturing over the next year. We've got to get back to making things. It's got to be part of that approach to diversify away from China, is actually to get back to make stuff in Australia. And I want to see a lot more products in our shops, in Big W and Kmart, with the tag Made in Australia again. That's got to be our focus.
Do you think, though, that Dan Tehan will be able to restart that dialogue with China that we have been unable to so far?
Well, I think that's possibly an impossible bar to set for Dan. It takes two to tango, so it's not just up to him. And the problem we have in some respects is the grievances that China has published, that the Chinese embassy has published with Australia. Very few of them actually have anything to do with trade. In fact, I don't know if any of them really had anything to do with trade. A few of them touch on foreign policy issues like Hong Kong or the Uyghurs or the South China Sea. Not trade policies per se, but at least foreign policy disputes. But a lot of the demands, the so-called grievances or demands that China has made of Australia, relate to our own domestic policy settings, like how we design and build our 5G network, or whether or not we should have a free press, or members of parliament should be able to freely express their views. And so for a country, China's very sensitive about other countries talking about its own internal affairs. It's a bit hypocritical to then, in their own list of grievances, say they want Australia to do a bunch of different things to our domestic policies. And so, unfortunately for us, that's not something Dan Tehan can fix. It's not something any of us will fix, because we will not change our domestic policies based on the demands of another country. And so if those remain the terms with which China wants to engage in, well, we're going to not be able to do as much business with China. That's unfortunate, but that's the reality. Well,
it's certainly a difficult road ahead, that's for sure. Just finally, quickly, Victorian Liberal Senator James Paterson has emerged as a front runner to replace Andrew Hastie as chairman of Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee. Do you back him? Is he the right man for the job?
James is a great guy. I'm sure he'd do a fantastic job. He's a great mate. But this really should go to the Nationals Party. We've got a great candidate in Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby was the Deputy Chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. He has been a member of the National Security Committee and Deputy Prime Minister for years. The Nationals Party don't have as many chairs as they should of these types of committees at the moment. And so I think Barnaby would make an excellent chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Relations and Intelligence. He's got the experience, he's got the runs on the board. And so why wouldn't you pick someone off the bench who's been Deputy Prime Minister of your country to represent your nation in this very important parliamentary committee?